I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins, and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
According to the Holy Scriptures, Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, is set to bring immortality to the nation of Israel, the elect, via establishing the tabernacle of David, as we talk about the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He is coming to take down this current world ruled by Esau, Edom, and establish a righteous kingdom, which is synonymous with the throne of David. That's scriptural, which is a government that's going to run this world in righteousness.
But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins, and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, dealing with the book of 1 Samuel, all right, the 8th chapter. All right, and what we're going to see in this chapter is the Lord, sets it up, to where Israel, will request, to have a king, because right now, they're having the priest, all right, the Levites, they will be the judges, and they will judge, all right, over Israel, okay, and now you're going to see, all right, Israel, request, a king like the other nations, and it was all set up from the beginning. We read this account, how it played out, okay, because this will eventually lead, to the throne of David being established in Israel, which we know that throne is eternal, in which Yahweh Shai will sit that throne when he returns, okay? So we're just going into the history leading up, all right, to that, okay? And you read 1 Samuel 8 and 1, all right, this is the NLT, it says, And Samuel grew old. As Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons to be judges over Israel, Joel and Abijah. His oldest sons held court in Beersheba, but they were not like their father, for they were greedy for money. They accepted bribes and perverted justice. Okay, so Samuel's sons, turns out to be niggas as well. Okay? So if this is happening, all right, you're going to get this complaint, all right, from Israel. It said, look, they told him, you are now old and your sons are not like you. Give us a king to judge us like all the other nations have. Samuel was displeased with their request and went to the Lord Yahweh Bashim al-Shah for guidance. Do everything they say to you, the Lord replied. For it is me they are rejecting, not you. They don't want me to be their king any longer. Okay? Which the Most High, we know as the scriptures say, all right, just get a couple. Because ultimately, the top authority comes from Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. All right, this is Psalms 47:2. It says, for the Lord Most High, all right, for Yahweh Most High is terrible. He's a great king over all the earth. Okay? So we know that all authority stems from him. Okay? He has the last say-so in everything. Things that are decided in the earth, well, they have to be signed off in the heavens. Okay? It has to be okayed in the heavens by, all right, King Yahweh. Okay? Even when you go here, all right, and you go here to the book of Sirach, all right, chapter 18, verse 1. All right, it's the book of Sirach, the book of Sirach, chapter 18, verse 1. It said, he that liveth forever have created all things in general. The Lord only is righteous, and there is none other but he, who governed the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. He is the king of all, by his power dividing holy things among them from profane. Okay, and the Heavenly Father alone has absolute power. Okay, the Heavenly Father alone has absolute power. You see, and he distributes that power to whom he chooses, however he chooses. And it was already set up in the beginning that he would establish his sons as kings of kings under him. Okay? And the first fruits of Israel to be that governing body. Okay? So it was always set up from the beginning whom the Lord was going to eventually give the kingship to. And it was Yahweh Shai, all right, and the first fruits. Okay? Because they're going to be those eternal kings. You see? But ultimately, all right, kingship, all authority comes from the Most High. He has the last say-so, ruling existence, you know, as the king over all. Okay? Just to put that out there. But let's go back to 1 Samuel. Verse 8 is in 1 Samuel 8. And I started 5, read back down. Say, look, they told him, you are now old and your sons are not like you. Give us a king to judge us like all the other nations have. Samuel was displeased with their request and went to the Lord Yahweh Bashim al-Shah for guidance. Do everything they say to you, the Lord replied, for it is me they are rejecting, not you. They don't want me to be their king any longer. Ever since I brought them from Egypt, they have continually abandoned me and followed other gods, and now they are giving you the same treatment. Okay? And the Lord, you know, puts us, you know, as we, you know, have to deal with Israel, you know, he puts us in position that he was in so we can see how he felt. You know, the way the woman is rebellious in this time, with Israel like it to a woman. You know, so the Lord put us in a particular position so we can see, you know, how it feels, you know, to be abandoned, to be betrayed, okay, to not to be listened to. You know, we see, and we see how the Lord felt, you know. So Samuel, when you read it, verse 8 says, ever since I brought them from Egypt, they have continually abandoned me and followed other gods, and now they are giving you the same treatment. Do as they ask, but solemnly warn them about the way a king will reign over them. So Samuel passed on the Lord's warning to the people who were asking him for a king. This is how a king will reign over you, Samuel said. The king will draft your sons and assign them to his chariots and his charioteers. All right. It says, making them run before his chariots. Some will be generals and captains in his army. Some will be forced to plow in his fields and harvest his crops. And some will make his weapons and chariot equipment. The king will take your daughters from you and force them to cook and bake and make perfumes for him. He will take away the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his own officials. He will take a tenth of your grain and your grape harvest and distribute it among his officers and attendants. He will take your male and female slaves and demand the finest of your cattle and donkeys for his own use. He will demand a tenth of your flocks, and you will be his slaves. When that day comes, you will beg for relief from this king. And it says when that day comes, you will beg for relief from this king you are demanding. But the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al-Shah will not help you. But the people refused to listen to Samuel's warning. Even so, we still want a king. They said, we want to be like the nations around us. Our king will judge us and lead us into battle. So they wanted, to set up as the heathens had, with the kingship. Okay? So the Heavenly Father, like, okay, I'm gonna give you a king. But this is how their king is gonna be. Okay? And that's why Yahweh Shai, when he came, he spoke on that, how the heathens, ruled over their people versus how we, okay, as rulers should be amongst Israel. Okay? So let's go to I think that's in John. Let me type it in. All right. This is the book of Luke chapter 22. All right. And verse 24. I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, then they began to argue among themselves about who would be the greatest among them. So the disciples are arguing about who's going to be the greatest, in the kingdom. Okay. Yahweh told them, in this world, kings and great men lord it over their people, yet are they called friends of the people. So he's letting them know in this age, how the rulers of this age, and this time it was ancient Rome, which, these Caesars were very pompous, okay? The style of government that was set up. Because they had that system in pagan Rome where the rich get richer and the poor get poor. They had that system back in Rome, okay? And he said they would lord it over their people, which means they would, use their title and rank, okay, to make the people, to where the people benefited them, but their leadership didn't benefit the people, okay? Just like today, you have, 92% of the world's wealth going to 1% of these elites, okay? So Yahweh Shai is telling them, look, we not going to move like that. If they're arguing about who's going to be the greatest, well, he steps in, all right, and starts to take this moment to teach a mindset, all right, that we should have as rulers, okay? And it says, Luke 22 and 25, Yahweh Shai told them, in this world, the kings and great men lord it over their people, yet they are called friends of the people. But among you, it will be different. Those who are the greatest among you should take the lowest rank and should be like a servant. Who is more important, the one who sits at the table or one who serves? The one who sits at the table, of course, but not here, for I am among you as one who serves. Okay? So Yahweh Shai was teaching, a ruler, all right, should have a mindset of a servant, which means his rulership should do a good service to the people. Okay? Not like the heathens, especially not like Edom wrong. All right? So Israel wanted a king, okay, like the heathen, okay? And Samuel said, look, all right, the Lord gonna give you a king, but this how he gonna be. And Jake didn't give a damn. Okay, they just wanted a king like the heathen, and it was already set up because this would lead to eventually the throne of David being established in the earth. Okay, so let's go here just to prove that, because even Moses, was considered a king. All right, because you always had a separation between the priests, okay, and the kings. Okay, you had the Levitical priest, and then after David, you have the throne, all right, of David. So you have Judites, and it was always a separation. Okay, but under the order of Melchizedek, all right, there is no separation between the king and the priest. It's one and the same. Okay, and that's the order, that the Lord, all right, wants to establish forever, is going to establish forever. Okay, and you go here because even Deuteronomy 33 and 4, it says, Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation, all right, of Jacob. All right, so he was a lawgiver, okay? And he was the king in Jeshurun when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. So the scripture referred to Moses, as being the king. Scholars will say Saul, was the first king, but you actually had this account when Moses was referred to as a king. All right, in the spirit, this is foreshadow of what's to come. Okay, with the king and the priest, those two offices being combined in one, no longer separate. All right, as Yahweh Shai is the high priest, and he's the king of kings, but he's the high priest as well. Okay, you see, so it was always set up from the beginning. That's why you even go here to we'll probably go into this again in a later chapter, but let's go here to Genesis 49 and 10. All right, Genesis 49 and 10, it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall be the gathering of the people be. So Judah, okay, was already prophesied, all right, to be a lawgiver and the king way before King David. All right, you see, so let you know that it was already set up, all right, for Judah to be, all right, the lineage, all right, of Yahweh Shai. Okay, and also the office of king and priest will be combined. Okay, so as we see, as Israel is begging for a king, well, the Lord already had a format that he was going to set up anyway amongst Israel's kings. Okay, in which Judah would be the head tribe. Okay, and the order of Melchizedek will be established. Okay, amongst 12,000 men from each tribe, which will be kings and priests in the earth. Okay, as you go here, well, man. All right, and that king will reign in righteousness, man. Cause Saul, we're gonna get into Saul. Saul was a terrible example, of a king towards his latter days. He was cool, at first, but then he went left. Okay, this Psalm 72 and 1, it says a psalm for Solomon. It says, give the king thy judgments, O power, and thy righteousness unto the king's sons. He shall judge the people with righteousness and the poor with judgment. Okay, so Yahweh Shai, all right, which we know Solomon was Yahweh Shai, all right, and Yahweh Shai is King Solomon perfected, man. You see, he was still going through, all right, as Solomon, all right, he was still being groomed to be King of Kings. Okay, but as Yahweh Shai, he got it right, and this is All right, a psalm speaking of Yahweh Shai's rulership to come. Okay, it says, "Give the king thy judgments, O power, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness." Okay, so this government of Yahweh Shai is going to bring peace unto the people. Okay, not put their own people in servitude like you see today. Esau has his own people as slaves, man, debt slaves. Okay, now he want to put the sea hip because he's gonna put the sea hip in. He's gonna put the sea hip in all people, man, even his own people. Okay, this man Esau Edom was a wicked ruler. He has his own people in captivity, catching hell. And his rulership, his people suffering in the kingdom under Yahweh Shai. No Israelite will suffer, man. Okay, no Israelite will have bills. Every Israelite is going to have their portion of the kingdom. You know, every child of Israel born is going to be born with an inheritance of the kingdom, man. Okay, you won't see a Israelite, all right, bomb. Okay, Israelite, suffering, oppressed, in prison and all. No, it's gonna be no, man. You see, this is how Esau rules, where the top percent of his people, okay, really enjoy their kingdom, man. Only a small portion of Edomites enjoy the kingdom, this current kingdom, man. Okay, and that's wicked in itself. You see, but you read this in the NLT. Psalm 72:3 said, "May the mountains yield prosperity for all, and may the hills be fruitful." All right. "He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor." Okay. Which he's coming to, Yahweh Shai is coming to put down all Israelite enemies, man. Beginning with Esau, Edom, man, these heathens, man. And Esau eventually is going to be eradicated. And these heathens are going to be in subjection forever, man. Okay? And this is why he's even here. It says, "They shall fear thee," okay, "as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations," man. And the sun and moon are celestial beings that endure forever. They're immortal. Okay? So this kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom in which the reverence for Yahweh by Shema Shai is going to be everlasting. You know? And those 12,000 men, okay, those 144,000 men, those 12,000 men from each tribe, okay, are going to be an extension of the fear of Yahweh by Shema Shai in the earth, man. Their reverence, okay, as kings, man. And it was always set up to be like that. All right. So when Israel is, requesting the king, the Lord already has the format that he wants to establish in the end game. And we went through a lot, up and down from where we at in 1 Samuel to now. Okay, there's a lot of history that's done happened, but it was always meant to lead up to this point. Okay, so let's go here, and just to show that we're gonna be those priests. This is Isaiah, and we get that in Revelation, because you got Isaiah. Okay, 32 and 1, it says, "Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness." It's all about a righteous rulership. Like I say, Saul was an example of how not to be. He was disobedient. He didn't have faith. Which we'll get into that guy. Okay, but the King David, was known as a man after the Most High's own heart. Okay, King Solomon was known, but he wasn't perfected. King Solomon, was the wisest king. Okay, that was when we was at our peak in prosperity. Okay, but he wasn't perfected. All right, now we're being perfected. Yahweh Shai is already perfected. He's just waiting to come and take what's his. Okay, and we're going through what we're going through to be those perfected kings in righteousness, man. Okay, every man in their order. All right. Isaiah 32 and 1 says, "Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment. Read this in the NLT. Look, a righteous king is coming, Yahweh Shai, and honest princes will rule under him. And that's the first fruits, man. Okay, that governing body. You see? And what is going to be a title of those honest princes, man? When you go to Isaiah 61. Matter of fact, I started at 1 because before, we're perfected, we will have to, preach this word, teach. And Yahweh Shai, he had to come and teach. He had to come set the foundation of the doctrine. You see, Isaiah 61 and 1, it said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Because the scriptures speak about a great falling away. Which Yahweh Shai, when he's the first one to fulfill this prophecy. Which he read this in the book of Luke, chapter 4 and 17. He read this in the synagogue amongst Jake. Okay, letting them know that that this prophecy is being fulfilled, because he was coming to our people. We was in captivity to the Romans. Okay, poor leadership, oppressed. All right, and he came preaching the kingdom during that time. And we in the same predicament today, where we're been born in New Rome and raised up to teach our people, about a kingdom. We're teaching our people while we're all in captivity together about a rulership that's to come, that was promised to our forefathers, man. You see, the good news, all right? And the meek, because, see, there's a spirit of meekness that the hopeful elect will have, man. Of course, we, battle with certain flaws that we had in the world, but there's a certain meekness, that's built into, the hopeful elect, and this word draws out those qualities, that this world, covers up, man, that this age, cultivated against. But the good qualities, the word bring it out, man, the meek, and it says, he said, he have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, broken mind. A lot of our people just, defeated by this system, man. But this word, it begins to heal us, man. You see, to proclaim liberty to the captives, okay? Because the main thing that we was in captive to were these enchantments, these culture, these doctrines. Why you got niggas, in their 50s still trying to be a thug. Street nigga, okay? Eve, they got grandchildren still in the club trying to be hot girl. They enchanted, they in prison to their way of thinking, okay? Christianity, no matter how much you disprove this, Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible, okay? There's a lot of our people that's bound in that, man. Okay? But the truth for the elect, it loosened those bounds. Okay? It cuts those cords, as me and the brother and I was getting into the other day. It cuts those cords, man. Okay? To where we're free. We're at liberty in Yahweh Shai. Okay? And it says, verse 2, it says, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our power, to comfort all that mourn. So there's a day to come where the Lord is going to avenge his people and set up, all right, this rulership that we've been discussing, man. Set up the priesthood of Melchizedek in the earth, okay? And that's going to come through Yahweh Shai coming back to wage war, okay? It says, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai, that he may be glorified, okay? Because the Lord is going to reestablish, okay, a righteous nation in the earth, man, okay? Which is Israel, the elect of Israel. The Lord's going to plant in the earth like a tree. He's going to plant the throne of David in the earth, Okay, and that government, Mount Zion. Okay, that's what's going to be established in the earth. You see, verse 4 says, and they shall build the old waste, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolation of many generations, man. You know, and with this is twofold, because, of course, post World War III, okay, these heathens are going to rebuild, you know. The heathens are going to build our kingdom from scratch, man. Okay, precious stone, okay, gold, silver, you know, brass, okay, the best wood, okay. Jerusalem gonna be built up. Jerusalem gonna be beautified. Israel, and it's branching out to the earth is gonna be beautified. All right, by the labor of these heathens, okay, but by our wisdom, okay, and also the people, the house of David that was ruined, and right is being built up now, okay. And that house lay desolate because we as a people were desolate, okay. But the house is being built up by preaching. Okay, it's gonna be physically built up post World War III after Yahushua returns. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the aliens shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. These nations go into captivity. Okay, so this is what the preaching of this word is going into, man. This is what it's leading to. You see, we've begun something, man, and it has an end game. Okay, and that's what the Lord establishing Yahushua, okay, and his sons on the throne forever. All right, verse 5, it says, and strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers, but ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you ministers of our power. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. All right, so it says what? But ye shall be named the priest. Okay, and it's speaking to all the tribes. All the men of the tribes shall be named the priest of the Lord. Okay, so not only kings but priests, and let's prove that. Okay, this is Revelation 5 and 9, and it says, and they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, okay, which this is Yahushua, going back to how singing this new song is bringing us into a rulership, okay. It's the same thing. You went to Isaiah, spoke about, you know, preaching, proclaiming liberty to the captives. Well, that's a part of the new song. So we're singing this new song, okay, which is the Yahushua return, righteousness, okay, being established in the earth, okay. You see, and much more. But we're singing this new song. It said, right here it says, for thou was slain, Yahushua was a sacrifice, and has redeemed us, okay. So Yahushua sacrifice redeemed us back to a status, okay, and it's just a thing of waiting for prophecy to play out. But what Yahushua did, they redeemed us back to favor with the Most High, okay, and favor with the Most High means status and power and authority for Israel, man, blessings for Israel forever, okay, forgiveness of sins, okay, getting those new bodies, you see. It says, for thou wast slain and has redeemed us to the Most High by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. And we always have to get this word kindred to show, okay, it's not speaking about all the nations, okay, because that office, okay, of being kings is only through Israel. So let's get this in the Greek is phole. All right, phule. All right, and it says in the New Testament, all persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. So all the Israelites that are scattered are going to be gathered, all right, of the elect, you see, at the return of Yahushua. And this the point. It has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign in the earth. Okay, a kingdom of priests. You see? So you go here. All right. I say we'll get into this some more. I'm sure as we go through this part of 1 Samuel. Okay. But you go from there and you get what was told to Jacob. Okay. What was told to Jacob when you get, is it 30, 35? Yep. This is Genesis 35:10. It says, and the Most High said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And the Most High said unto him, I am the Most High Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of their loins. And remember, this is before, okay, there was a King David. Before Israel had a king, which we know is Saint Moses was considered a king. But this was even before that. So it was always set up, all right, for the descendants of Jacob, all right, to be those kings, those men, all right, beginning with Yahushua, okay, 12 disciples, the rest of 144,000 men, okay, to be the forever government, okay, of rulers amongst Israel. You see? So as Israel requested a king, well, the Lord set that up because he already had that in the play. He already had that in the making. You know? So, let's go from there. And we can end it here, which you always get. But this is the book of Revelation, chapter 11. Okay. And 14. It said the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. And the seven angels sounded, which the third woe, the third world's war. Okay. As we speak, you know, people are waiting to see what Trump gonna do. You know, people are waiting to see those small hats gonna do over there with Iran, which we know the conflict with Iran, which is right here. We were right here at the door. All right, but that conflict with Iran, okay, is going to lead to all-out war in the earth. Now it could happen, you know, this year, and we know the CHIP, you know, has to be mandated. Okay, so the Lord got both of these prophecies of World War III, okay, and the MOTB playing out at the same time. Okay, so we're here. You know, they're going back and forth. You know, you see war tensions heighten. You know, you'll see, you know, things intensify with the war. Then you'll see Esau make a big push toward this digital, you know, even with the tariffs and, you know, the global markets being affected and these things. So we're here. Okay, we're at the door. You know, how long, you know, is the question. But we here. All the pieces are in place, all right, for this prophecy to come to pass, man. That third woe. It says, and the seven angels sounded, and there was great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his anointed, and he shall reign forever and never. So it was always prophesied for Israel, all right, to have the dominion in the earth, okay, the men of Israel to be the kings of the earth under Yahushua, okay. So what we're seeing in Samuel is the build up to a throne, the throne of David, which is going to be that format for their kingdom, you know. So that was the point. Just wanted to get into that, you know, Lord will. All right, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations.